Welcome to the sound of the start of your weekend. This is the NTT20 betting show. It's a partial slate of EFL action across Leagues 1 and 2. George and I off to Wembley this evening. Very excited about that. England v Wales. The England pod really comes alive during the international breaks. Of course, we'll be breaking down all these games on the NTT20 Monday pod as well. This podcast is sponsored by Sky Bet, and it is very strictly for over 18s only. Please make sure that if you're thinking of placing a bet today, this weekend, or any time, just make sure you understand the risks that come with gambling. Head to gamblerware.org to do so. Welcome back to you, George.
Thank you.
It was nice to have Goffey sit in your seat virtually. His nap, Stoke, draw no bet, was a push. They were one up at Blackburn, but a 1-1 draw in the end. Birmingham's next best drew 1-1 with Wrexham, Kitching at 11-1. I think the logic was sound. In the end, it was Bobby Thomas who did all the headers from Coventry set pieces, and he didn't score somehow either. And the Acker swerve, well, he was very keen for it. 3 Ackers, or 3 swerves for your Acker. They all won at very, very short prices. It was Ipswich, it was Cardiff, and it was Bolton. I got Wimbledon draw no bet up as my nap. That was very pleasing, 7-4. I also got Laurent Tolai anytime at 5-2. He scored a penalty for Argyle. So a good week, a positive week for me, despite Stephen Duke McKenna. He tried his hardest on Monday night. If anyone watched that game, they'd have seen him get the ball and try a million dribbles and a million long shots, all which got blocked at source. Connor Taylor did not score for Wickham. In fact, he had one of the most eye-catchingly poor individual displays of the weekend. The Eggman was 1 out of 4, not great. The BTTS, a pretty classic 3 out of 6. So hoping to bounce back this weekend with fewer games to analyse. Hopefully that will mean the ones that we have looked at, we've got a good steer on. George, what's your best bet of the weekend?
My best bet in League 2 this weekend, and it's 15th hosting 17th at 10-11. And you're like, well, that seems a bit short, doesn't it? But this is a good example, maybe, of 2 teams who are currently quite close together on the table who may not end up as close as they currently are. Oldham host Barrow. They're the 2 teams involved here. We've spoken quite a lot about Oldham on the betting show over the course of the season, and the reason for that is because they are the one team almost in all 3 leagues who just absolutely have not got what they've deserved from their games so far this season. They've only won 3 of their 11 games. Quite handily, our friend Mark O'Hare tweeted some XG tables earlier in the week, and he's got Oldham down as 5th for expected points based on expected goals, and that kind of reflects where they, the difference, I guess, in terms of their performance level and what they've actually done. I think they've started the season incredibly well. The results themselves recently have been okay too. It was kind of the poor start to the season that maybe has them lower than where they should be. Last time out at home, there was a decent point against Barnet, a Barnet side who obviously have hit form recently. Their home form for the most part has been pretty good. Their win at home against Bromley back in September. Bromley aside, who we know are decent as well. And if you look at the teams that they've lost to at home this season, Swindon are currently in the top 3, and Gillingham, who we know are one of the sides up in the top end of the table as well. So, yeah, I think Oldham are a side who, following them from here on, is a good way to go about things. I'm not sure the market has necessarily got them right as of yet. And the same can be said of Barrow, who obviously haven't started the season great, down in 17th, but again, Mark's XG table has them down in 21st. And I think there are a lot of red flags in terms of their performances this season as well. They were beaten. So their last game was at home to Shrewsbury, where they drew 0-0, a really poor Shrewsbury side. The wins this season have come, last time out was against Crawley and Crewe. Crawley have had a weird season so far, and Crewe, another team who weren't in great form when they did. They've already gone stretches of 3 consecutive defeats and 4 consecutive defeats in all competitions. I think, I still am of the belief that Andy Wing is probably a pretty capable manager, and he showed that at the back end of last season. But as we spoke about a lot in the pre-season content, I think Barrow are a club that I'm pretty concerned about in terms of their trajectory, in terms of not replacing quality players. It feels to me like the squad quality is way down on last season. So, this is being priced up as a game between 2 relatively evenly matched sides. I don't think that's the case. I think Oldham are far, far better than them, and that a shade of odds against the value to beat them.
Nice. My nap's in League 1. It's a Latics weekend on the pod, because you're backing Oldham's Latics. I'm backing Wigan's Latics in League 1. 9-5 with Sky Bet. And I just don't really understand what's going into this price at home to Wickham, because Wickham are the favourites for the game, And clearly that reflects that on neutral ground, Wycombe would be pretty strong favourites for the game. And I have a feeling that Wycombe in these ratings are still being considered like a playoff level team like they were last season. But they haven't been a playoff level team for ages now. They weren't a playoff level team in the last few months of last season after Matt Bloomfield left. They weren't anywhere near a playoff level team during the playoffs themselves. And so far this season, it's gone really, really poorly. And hence Mike Dodds was sacked and Mike Duff has come in. They're on 9 points from 11 games. Wigan in 14th have 13 from 11. A Wigan side who this season have been good at home. 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat, some really exciting performances and big wins at home as well. And a Wycombe side who've been really poor on their travels. 1 point in 5 games, just the 1 draw and 4 defeats. I saw them against Wimbledon 2 weekends ago. They were really poor and 2-0 down at half-time, having just not got into the game at all. Last week they were at home to Barnsley. They were 2-0 down after 50 minutes. Individual errors at the back scuppered them, but they weren't creating loads either. Really poor first halves in their last 2 league games makes me think that Mike Duff hasn't just walked in and waved a magic wand and turned Wycombe into a playoff team. There is an image of Duff's Wycombe. It's not hard to picture them being a good League One team, much better than their current league position. But 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat in his 3 games in the league so far, and I'm not willing to say definitively that they are instantly much better. Wigan's form isn't great, it's fair to say. It's not panic stations for me. They drew at Carlisle last week, great point on the road. They lost to Cardiff at home in their last home game, and they lost at Bolton the game before that. Probably the 2 best footballing teams in the league have beaten Wigan there. I don't think that necessarily means that they are suddenly a really poor team. But again, I keep coming back to these prices, which suggest that either Wigan are one of the worst teams in the league or Wycombe are being considered much better than I think they are. This fixture did happen a couple of weeks back in the League Cup, and in fairness, Wycombe did win 2-0 at Wigan. It just doesn't really bother me at all. I think league games are very, very different. And when they've beaten Northampton and Peterborough and Doncaster most impressively at home, Wigan have looked really great. Mullin is heavily involved. Fraser Murray has been sensational. I just think the prices. I think, George, the prices are the wrong way around at 2.8 Wigan, 2.4 Wycombe, and that means it has to be what I think is the best value of the weekend and therefore my best bet. Wigan, 2 points on at 9-5 with Sky Bet. Next best.
Bromley are 11-5 to beat Crewe away from home, which I think is a touch big. This is a Crewe side who started the season very well, went on a really, really poor run of games where either side of putting 7 past Chesterfield in the EFL Trophy. Chesterfield has shipped 7 goals twice this season in all competitions. It's weird, isn't it? They had a winless run of 5 or so games. But back-to-back wins, Notts County and Harrogate have made things better. A late goal against Harrogate on Monday night, helping them here. But I just think they're a bit short. Like, I think Crewe are a decent side this season. We had them quite low in our 1-24s, and then we had them too low, I think. I don't necessarily think they're a top 7 side at this stage. And they're playing a Bromley side who, can I shock you? Mm-hmm. Bromley haven't won a game in all comps since August the 30th.
What?
I know.
Wow.
Like, in my mind, they're like, Bromley, good team.
Wow. That's 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
They kind of have been in good positions in games. A lot of their results have been good results. You know, obviously they squandered a 2-goal lead against Gillingham, but, you know, 2-2 draw against Gillingham is no bad result. 2-2 draw against Chesterfield. And, you know, the form has suffered recently. You know, they would have expected to beat Tranmere last weekend, but drew the game 3-3 and lost 2-0 away at Swindon. I think it's a combination of difficult fixtures, some good performances, not getting the just results. And again, I think these are 2 probably quite well-matched teams, with maybe Crewe getting a couple of marginal results going their way, or a couple of marginal games going their way, and Bromley having a few marginal games where they can't get over the line. I think a win is going to be coming for Bromley, and they offer a solidity. You know, I guess Andy Woodman's not going to be on the touchline after his sending off on the weekend, unless that was served in their EFL Trophy game against Stevenage on Tuesday night. We're not sure. And they rotated pretty heavily for that, so I'm not too concerned about fatigue, albeit maybe that will be an issue for Crewe given they played Monday night with their first team out. So yeah, I think Bromley are just a bit too big, bigger than 2-1 in what should be a pretty tight game.
Goalscorer corner where we're feeling pretty good actually after 4 winners across the last 4 weeks. Laurent Tolai last week. We had Josh Andrews at 3-1. We had Michael Mellon 11-4, and of course we had Duke McKenna at 12-1 as well. This week I've got 1 point staked on Daniel Udo of Salford, 9-4, 3.25 the decimal with Sky Bet. They are playing against Chesterfield. Now, Chesterfield last week, it was quite hard to watch those highlights of their 6-2 defeat at Colchester and not think, wow, these have not sorted out their key issue, the one thing really holding them back, and that is weakness defensively, vulnerability, too much space between midfield and defence, a defence holding a high line that they're just not suited to holding, quite slow centre-backs who, up against an 18-year-old striker in Mbik, looked like they were really struggling with the sort of speed of him and his physicality, and certainly with the speed of the winger in particular, Lisby of Col U, really struggled. And I think Udo matches up really well here. Since he dropped down to League Two, he was starting games to start the season in League One for Wickham. I see him as a League One striker. Salford managed to tempt him when they were flashing some cash at the end of the window, and he's looked really good. Anytime's actually landed only in one of his 5 starts so far for Salford. That was a game where he scored a brace. But he's having 2.8 shots per game, 1.4 shots on target per game. He's got 4 assists as well. And just eye test wise, a bit like what I said with Michael Mellon the other day, he just looks a little bit too good for the level. And this Chesterfield side, I note, they face the highest XG per shot against. So the average chance that Chesterfield give up to their opposition, the average shot that they give up, is of a higher quality than any other team, which suggests that defence is indeed not doing a very good job of protecting its goal. I think Udo should have chances here for Salford in what should be an entertaining game. I've got a point on Dom Ballard as well. He plays for Leyton Orient. He's their number 9. Spent the whole of August with Connolly up top, Connolly posting gaudy shot numbers, and therefore becoming quite a short price to score any time off the back of that. Wellens kept saying, I don't really want to play Connolly up top, I want to sign a 9, and he signed Dom Ballard, and now Ballard is playing up top with Connolly playing off him. Connolly has remained a big goal threat and has the price to match it, but I think Ballard's too long at 5-2. He has played 5 games in the league for Orient, and Anytime has landed in 3 of them. Scored a screamer in his last game against Cardiff, but the other 2 have been 6-yard box, penalty box poaching. That's what he does. He didn't score that many for Blackpool last season, but I seem to remember his XG numbers were like ridiculous. And his goal scoring record at youth level has been very, very good. He's had a tough time with injuries so far in his young career. But I think Ballard might be a proper goal scorer. And if that is true, playing for an Orient team who are, even if they're not picking up great results, they've scored 10 in their last 5 league games. Gung-ho approach. He's racking up 0.51 XG per 90. I think the 5-2 is a sort of price at home that we won't be getting with Ballard for very long. So it stands to reason that I think that's good value. 1 point on Ballard, and then half a point on a long shot, and on the guy who scores more long shots than anyone else in the EFL over the last decade, and that's Lewis Wing. 5-1 he is with Sky Bet. That's the best price around to score for Reading at Exeter. I'm putting half a point on. This is, eye testy. Really eye testy.
Vibesy.
I think Joe Whitworth, the Exeter keeper, who has had some really good spells last season and some good games this season as well, has had some tough spells as well last season. He's quite short, and I'm not sure he's got the wingspan of a lot of goalkeepers. And I think he's a little vulnerable to long shots. And I was looking, I haven't had time to do this data on all goalkeepers to have played 50 games since the start of last season. But he has faced 54 shots on target from outside the box since the start of last season and conceded 12 goals. It's about 1 in 4 shots on target from outside the box are going in. I don't know if that's a really high rate, but I think it's definitely encouraging for me here because Wing, he's just green light from anywhere. He had 5 shots in his last game. He almost always has a shot in every game. He's so good from range. He puts such power and sort of swerve on the ball. I like the idea of Wing having a few sighters here against a keeper who, as impressive as he is, I think maybe has a little weakness on this front, and I want to make the most of that at 5-1 Lewis Wing anytime. So Goalscorer corner has Dan Udo of Salford 1 point to score at 9-4 against Chesterfield. Dom Ballard of Leyton Orient at 5-2 to score 1 point on him as well, and then Lewis Wing of Reading at Exeter 5-1 at half a point staked.
I've got a goalscorer as well in one of the same games as you.
Great.
In the Salford. The Chesterfield-Salford game. You mentioned Chesterfield's poor defensive work. Annoyingly, for this bet, they're from set pieces, they're okay. They've only conceded 2 goals from set pieces from 2.6 total. But Salford are a pretty proficient side from set pieces, and in Adebola Oluwo, they have a player who looks to me to be one of the biggest kind of set piece centre-back goal threats in League Two. It reminds me a bit of when we had Omar Shomi suddenly kind of bursting on the scene at Bromley, where I wouldn't be surprised if Oluwo's price of 14-1 this week, we're never going to, it takes a few more goals for that to disappear forever and be single figures going forward. He's already scored 2 goals this season. Those 2 goals come from 14 shots, all 14 shots inside the box, totaling 2 expected goals. It's quite rare, I would say, for goal-scoring centre-backs not to overperform their expected goals, because you've got to be a very good header, and generally header chances aren't particularly high-value XG chances. He's had 4 shots since his most recent goal against Newport. One of those was a big chance against Bristol Rovers, 0.5 XG, 0.73 expected goals on target. His shot map is ridiculous. He's just someone who's clearly very adept and is a target from set pieces to get his head on it first, and is doing so regularly. So 14-1 for him to score any time seems huge.
And who are you swerving this weekend?
Swerving Gillingham. And this is, I'm not a believer.
It's a short price out.
It's a really short price.
Yeah,
they're 8-15, so just a touch bigger than 2-1. And I'm not sure that's necessarily right against a Cheltenham side buoyant off the back of welcoming a returning hero, and it's Steve Cotterill back to the club after 23 years. Buoyant after seeing their side win a game of football at home last time out against Fleetwood. They got in Isaac Hutchinson, the first goal scorer there. They have a player who is much better than most of his Cheltenham teammates, and most better than a lot of League Two players. This isn't necessarily an anti-Gillingham stance. Obviously, we've seen their form tail a little bit after a blistering start. They were 3-0 down against MK Dons last time out before going back to lose 3-2, but was very much second best up until that third goal was scored by MK. And it's just a nasty time to play Cheltenham. Like, I'm not a believer in a new manager bounce, but I think when the new manager is a returning local hero who's the person who delivered Cheltenham to this level in the first place, then it's quite obviously going to have a significant impact on just the general feeling around a club. And I think that will happen here, especially off the back of a win. So I would just maybe steer clear of getting against Cheltenham for the next few weeks until we see how the arrival or the appointment impacts their performances. 8-15, too short for me.
Good. That's not in the Acker. It's not in the Eggman.
Eggman. Don't call it an Acker. Sorry, that's not what it's called. It's an Eggman.
It's an Eggman.
Yeah, don't. Just be on brand.
Any more?
Be on brand.
Any more from you?
No, I'm done.
The Eggman is a 5-fold Acker that I do each week, and we are yet to win one this season. Maybe this week's the week. The price is 92.2 with Sky Bet. And it contains Wigan at home to Wycombe. That is my nap at 9-5. Already explained why. Oldham, your nap. Bromley, your next best. Already in. And that was before I knew they were your nap and next best. I guess it's not that surprising that in a week where there's only about 14, 15 games, there'd be a few that we both line up with. The two that I will add and tell you about are Walsall to beat Crawley in League Two and to keep the good vibes rolling. This is at 2.45, so 29-20. I think it's a great stylistic matchup for Walsall. Made a gag on the Monday pod about Crawley playing against Cambridge in high wind. A very sort of serious, physical, set-piecey defensive team against a unserious, vibes-based, passy team, and Cambridge, unsurprisingly, squashing them from set pieces and winning. I think the same can happen here, whether it's windy or not in Sussex this weekend, I don't know. But the 29-20 about a Walsall side who just absolutely know how to go about performing at the highest level that they can. In great form with both Presley in the goals last weekend with 2, Daniel Kanu in fantastic form recently as well. Couldn't be more impressed, basically. Huge turnover in the summer. maybe that was good to kind of shake off some of the cobwebs from last season's drop off. But I'm loving them at the moment.
Low winds, only 4 mile per hour.
Oh,
but
yeah,
sun around 5 o'clock. So that late sun, low sun, could cause havoc from set pieces.
Yeah, get it into the box. Big Aidan Flint. Crawley keeper, let's hope you've got your cap on you because you're going to need one. I think it's just the perfect tactical matchup for Walsall here, and not a great one for this Crawley side, who I must admit I'm not a huge fan of right now. And then lastly, Cambridge to win at Shrews. The price is at 6-5. Cambridge are just sort of trotting along pretty nicely. I'd almost upgrade it to motoring, actually. They're starting to motor. That's what I'll end up saying. Cambridge is starting to motor. 2 wins and 2 draws in their last 4 league games. 2 wins at home and the 2 draws away from home. But, they've beaten Collieu away from home, drawn against Grimsby and Tranmere. They lost narrowly to Bristol Rovers and to Swindon. Away form not amazing. But overall this season, they have beaten the poorest teams in the league. They've already played Crawley, Cheltenham and Newport, 3 of the bottom 4. At home, they beat them all, and now it's Shrews away, who are the other team in the bottom 4. A Shrewsbury side who've played 5 home games in the league this season, lost 3 of them, and the other 2 were 0-0. A Shrewsbury side that only won 5 of 23 at home last season, for whom home advantage does not seem to exist and certainly doesn't seem to fill the players with confidence. I don't think Michael Appleton's tenure is filling the players with confidence. I don't think the individual abilities of the players is filling anyone with huge confidence either. And I think the way I see Cambridge right now is if they can just perform at a normal level, not even their best level, just a normal professional level, defend their box properly, wait for chances to arise, I think they should be able to pick Shrews off. So the Eggman, the fivefold this weekend, has in League 1 Wigan, in League 2 Walsall, Bromley, Oldham and Cambridge is 92.2 with Sky Bet, which I think leaves this week's combo bet. It's not a BTTS sixfold with few games to work with. We're trying to thread the needle here. The idea is that with fewer games, we spend more time on individual games and we might end up with an even clearer picture of how they'll play out. So it's a correct score double at 71-1. Go on.
Stockport are going to beat Blackpool 2-0. It's just, it's such a 2-0 game. Like 2-0 games to me are games where you've got one team who are just quite obviously better than the other, probably at home, up against a side who are really poor going forward. Blackpool really poor going forward. Their creative numbers have been terrible all season. Up against a Stockport side who, defensively haven't been the best this season, but this is their opportunity to put that right. Attacking output's been much, much better recently. Performances have been much better. I think it's 7-1 about the 2-0 win here. I think we'll get a run for our money with that because I think despite Steve Bruce's departure from Blackpool before a new manager, I assume, is appointed, I can't see much reason to think that Blackpool are going to turn it around, especially given what we know about Steve Bruce. One of the many things we know is that generally people who know him absolutely love him. So it's not like they've rid the club of a toxic manager.
Tyrant.
Yeah. So I think Stockport should wipe the floor.
I wonder if Steve Bruce has booked his flights to Australia for the Ashes.
Yes, he has, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, 7-1 that, 8-1 mine, and it's Northampton 0, Rotherham 0. Now, with a half an apology, I will note that this is the lesser spotted 2 p.m. kickoff, no doubt for some sort of rugby purposes. And so there's a chance this bet is dead before the start of the second half in Stockport 2, Blackpool 0.
Before the start of... Because given the scoreline, it could be done before they even kick off.
Yep. 2:05. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. There's a number of ways that this could be done, right? But also...
At least we'll know the teams, for sure, in the Stockport game before it's
Team
done.
news. Perfect.
1:45.
Northampton 0. Rotherham 0. Now, I think that there's people thinking, hold on, Rotherham. Oh, my God. Saw them play against Bradford last weekend. They were so bad at defending. And they've been so bad at defending all season. And I know that there are people thinking that because that's what George said when I told him what I was contributing to this combo bet. A bit of a leap of faith from me. But I would be confident that Matt Hamshaw, who will be pretty desperate at this point for Rotherham to pick up a win, because his tenure in charge of his boyhood club probably won't last that much longer if their current run of picking up less than a point per game continues. Away at Northampton, I'm guessing, let's be honest, that the game plan is going to be, please, can we keep it tight? Northampton are not a good attacking team. They have scored 7 goals in 10 games. 5 goals at home, 1 per game, and 0.4 goals away from home. They're not a good attacking team. If you defend properly against them, you can keep them at bay. Surely that is going to be the focus in setting up for this game, is for Rotherham to keep it tight, to probably bin off the absurdly high line that kept catching them out against Bradford, and just try and grind this out, because it's a massive, massive game for them and for Matt Hamshaw. Obviously, that is a bit of a leap of faith. Obviously, the individuals involved, particularly last week against Bradford, who looked like they were struggling, might struggle once again. But I think if they can be a little bit more serious about the defensive setup, they should be slightly better defensively here. It's also worth pointing out that Rotherham have had a pretty tough fixture list. They haven't played anyone lower than, in the bottom 8 with them. And they've beaten Vale and Exeter and drew with Wigan, who are the 3 lowest ranked team that they've played. So I think this will be a pretty tight, low margin game between 2 teams, neither of whom are particularly good going forward. 0-0 at 8-1 is my contribution to the combo bet, which, along with Stockport 2, Blackpool 0, is 71-1 with Sky Bet. That's a combo bet. I think that leads us off.
That's us finished.
Real express pod today. George,
Que sera, sera.
Please recap your selections.
My nap. Oldham to beat Barrow at 10-11. Bromley 11-5 away at Crewe, my next best. I'm swerving the hell out of Gillingham at home to Cheltenham Town. And my goal scorer is Adebola Oluwo at 14-1 anytime for Salford City away at Chesterfield.
Wigan's my nap at 9-5 in League One with Sky Bet. Goalscorer corner, Dan Udo of Salford, 9-4, 1 point play. Dom Ballard, Leyton Orient, 5-2, 1 point play. Lewis Wing of Reading, 5-1, half a point play. The Eggman, the fivefold acca, has Wigan, Walsall, Oldham, Bromley, Cambridge, 92.2 with Sky Bet. And our correct score double is Stockport to beat Blackpool 2-0 at 7-1. Matched up with Northampton 0, Rotherham 0 at 8-1, 71-1 with Sky Bet. Thank you very much to Sky Bet for sponsoring this podcast. We're off to Wembley, wobbly knees, shaky knees. Our knees have gone all trembly. We're off to Wembley. So come on, England. Make sure you listen to the England Pod's recap of England-Wales. Make sure you get excited for the Monday pod, breaking down this reduced slate in Leagues 1 and 2. Thank you to the Reverters. Go well.